Okay, welcome back. As you can see, we've got the garage completely cleaned out right now. We're going to be embarking on another trailer project. I'll be covering episodes with different material each episode, probably frame, body for an episode, sheeting for an episode. We'll do an episode of interior, plumbing, propane, solar. We'll kind of try to cover it all throughout the series here. The episodes are going to be spaced out fairly far apart, as it's probably going to take about 3 months to build this. This time I'm actually organized and I've got a complete plan for everything, including the frame, all of the measurements. That way we can reference it down the road if we need to. The last one I kind of built by the seat of my pants. Now I just picked up this dry chop saw. It's possibly the greatest tool in my garage now, and I've only used it for one cut. This is going to save me a lot of grinding, a lot of sparks, and most importantly, a lot of inhalation from all the stuff that comes off the grinder. Now for the frame of this trailer, we're going to be using 2x3 0125 wall steel. This is tube structure steel. It's going to be plenty strong for a trailer that's not going to weigh more than 1,500 pounds when it's all said and done. As always, wear these. So now we're going to use the speed square to mark out our 22.5 degrees. This is where the back of the trailer is going to bump up. We put the pivot on our marking point, about 22.5, we'll go right there, and we'll mark it out. Now I'm just going to cut corner gussets out of the straps. You don't want to cut these first until you have all of your long lengths cut. In this case, I figured I could do about an 8-inch support. Now that that's done, we want to make sure our area has no metal shavings left. Any metal shavings may throw off the level of it, because we're basically going to be building this using the floor as our kind of our jig. Halfway done. Our very front piece, we're going to be cutting out both sides directly in the middle. This is where our leading tongue piece is actually going to slide into the material, and then we'll weld both sides. Now what I'd like to do, this is the leading edge of my tongue. I'd like the actual tongue part to slide through this. So I'm going to measure and notch out this with the grinder, so that same piece that passed through the front of the frame will also pass through the tongue support. Now when that happens, and it's just barely hanging on, that's usually a perfect time to grab your Darcy hammer and just kind of So these verticals here that run all the way to the front, I want them notched in halfway into this beam here. That way it becomes one structure all the way across, and then we'll have our 45s in either corner, and it'll be plenty strong. So we'll mark them out first this way, then on the vertical, and these as well, we'll mark them out on the vertical and across. So basically these both nest together, and then we can weld everything up. We'll remove that section and that section. front piece, we're gonna do the same. We're gonna make cuts into it. We're gonna make these about 1/8 of an inch deeper just so that we make sure everything clears and there's room for our weld in there. So now you can see the front fits through nicely, back, and either side. We'll square this entire thing up using the tape measure, tack weld it in place, and then runs through with the arc welder after using some 60-13 rod that I got. Should be plenty strong for what we're doing here. As well, we'll go and actually put a 45 on each of the edge of every end piece. That way the weld actually has somewhere to sit. It's just less cleanup work for us after. This outer surface will get aluminum right to it. This top surface will get lumber right to it. So it's really important that everything is nice and smooth. When it comes to squaring this up, again, this ain't gonna do shit for you. Safe bet, measure from the center out, and make sure they're both the same measurement. Now back here it's a little trickier to check square. Reason being it's kind of a 3D shape. You have to remember there's always a square between 4 equal points, or a rectangle rather. So now we're going to arc weld in the entire thing.